Hey, welcome to episode 138 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris D.T. Gordon. As always, I am so happy you're here with me today. And with me today as well, you can't see them, but they're there. It's kind of like Santa watching if you're naughty or if you're nice, are Nate and Britton Barron, working on the back end of the channel to make me look better than I have any right to do so. If you want them to work on your projects, reach out to them at Nate Barron. Well, folks, as you are listening to this, we are just a couple of weeks before we flip the calendar to 2023. But even if we switch to another date, that doesn't mean our problems are left in the past. So please reach out to me if my attitude of gratitude message, you know it, tag, if that can help you and those you serve in increasing your gratitude, positivity, and resilience, please reach out to me at chrisdtgordon.com. Also, help me out with the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this message. You're going to want to share this one. Trust me. Well, today I am joined by my NF brother and fellow geek, Tim Sanchez. Tim, how are you today?
Doing good, thank you. Doing really well, in a recovery process from a cosmetic surgery or a recent surgery, but doing really well. So,
oh man, after what we've gone through, most surgeries seem like, oh, okay, this again. All right.
yeah, it's kind of been that way for me. As we'll go into and we'll find out. I'll put it to you this way: I went from having 0 surgeries to having 7 surgeries in the last 3.5 years collectively. So yeah, I've become kind of old hat at dealing with surgeries.
Yeah, being a surgery veteran is for doctors, not for patients. So, but as you said before, you are a NF brother, as I call it, a survivor of necrotizing fasciitis, and also a fellow geek. So I'm going to give you guys a warning. Sorry, not sorry. We could get geeky in here. So just, bear that warning. Well, Tim, before you became an NF brother of mine, you had a life before then. Why don't you take us through that and walk us through your story, please?
Well, prior to 2019, I had only been a patient in a hospital once, and that was in 2017 for a cellulitis infection, which was from my left knee to my left ankle, where my thigh my calf pretty much blew up to about the size of my thigh. So, and many people will be familiar with cellulitis. It's kind of an unfortunate, another skin infection similar to NF that can be very devastating. And so prior to 2017, I had never been in the hospital except for maybe a colonoscopy like 10 years prior, and, maybe an x-ray here and there, but nothing like major. It was like, okay, doctor's office, the hospital's over there. I'm going to my doctor's office, maybe the urgent care, or, to get some little thing taken care of. So never been in the hospital before. And then I was in for the cellulitis, and I'm thinking, okay, I've gone through my hospital stay. I've been a patient. I can check that off the unwanted bucket list.
There we go.
I was in for about 3 months, a lot of IVs and antibiotics, with the cellulitis, but I got through that. So I'm thinking, no problem, So it was just work, school, volunteering, having fun, keeping up with the animes and the mangas that I enjoy, and the comics, and just living a normal life. I had some obesity issues, but, I was still living life prior to my infection in 2019.
Yeah. So I have to get into it because I already brought it up. What are your favorite manga, anime, and comics?
Well, I do like the Avengers. Those are always those are popular now, but even then I did like them before. The Mighty Thor, or Thor, has always been fun. Iron Man, just the idea of the suit and the mechanics, and then some of the DC, Batman and Superman is always, a well-known, just obvious, likable one. The Flash was always something that was kind of amazing with the speed, and then jumping back over to the Marvel universe, the Hulk, just, the raw power, and, just, there's always fun. And, then X-Men, and, watching the cartoons, and, and then for animes and mangas, I like One Piece. I recently got into Bleach. I hadn't really gotten into Bleach previously, but with the Thousand Year Blood War coming out in the anime, I ended up kind of binge watching the anime to get into that. But I also have been looking at like Naruto, and there's a piano anime manga that came out called PPPPP, which pretty much means like super, super soft. If you know anything about piano, it's like 6 P's, which is like super permissimo, if I remember my piano correctly. And so it's about piano playing. So it's kind of what I would call a mix between Food Wars and but with musical instruments,
Okay.
So,
yeah, I picture that scene from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness where they're fighting with notes.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's more there's musicians and they paint pictures with their music that the audience kind of sees, and kind of takes them into these dreamscapes. And that's kind of one of their, the primary characters who are pianists. But it's kind of fun. I grew up playing the piano as a kid, so something I'm trying to get back into. So it was kind of something I was like, oh, this is a curious, interesting thing to read. So
yeah, that is very cool. That's something that a lot of people don't really expect out of manga or anime are the odd nods to real life.
Yeah.
And how they take something something mundane and really turn it on its head. And so that's really cool that that series exists.
And I would be amiss if I didn't at least make a mention that I am also a fan of something I know you're a fan of, One Punch Man.
One Punch!
And I'm sorry, but I have seen your cosplay of Saitama, and you are excellent, man.
Thank you.
Looked great. So
thanks a lot. I appreciate that. I figure we're both bald and skinny. So, and you don't have to get really fancy with a yellow onesie and a cape.
Yeah.
I was lucky though. I found a pair of gloves and a pair of boots they didn't come in a set, but they match remarkably well.
Yeah. And then like you said, I'm a bigger guy, and I have a beard, and just trimming my beard a little bit, I actually did Vice Admiral Garp from One Piece as my most recent as my cosplay, and I kind of really enjoy doing that one. In fact, I sent you a picture for that, so if you ever
I did see that.
So
maybe we'll use that for the thumbnail for this episode.
Hey, you know what? Any of the pictures I've sent you, you're more than welcome to use. I'm comfortable with sharing those things.
Cool. Well, I appreciate getting to know you a little more, Tim, about your interest in comics and anime and manga. But then now let's go to that was your life before NF. So let's walk through that next section of the story.
Well, believe it or not, anime plays a small part in my story. In 2019, when this all happened to me, I had gone to Anime Expo the first week of July, and there's a picture of me I sent you that shows me kind of from that week. As you can tell, I was very large. I was probably around 530 to 550 pounds. And I went to Anime Expo, and I had fun. I enjoyed myself. It was my first time actually getting to go. And that was July 7th, that the last day of that. And that Sunday night is my last clear memory. For a while. Because on July 7th, I remember getting home. I was excited. I picked up some food. I'd cosplayed. I went with my adult niece who likes to cosplay. She had flown out from the East Coast, and so everything was great. I figured during my time at the expo, obviously I did a lot of walking, and the heat and the sunlight, I had probably, looking back and speculating, I'd probably developed a heat rash. Now, being an overweight person, I'm kind of used to having problems with heat rashes in the groin or perianal area, and just kind of, you deal with it with over-the-counter parsa, Gold Bond, baby powder, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I have notes or receipts that in the past, I don't have many more, that showed that I tried to do that, because 1 week later, on July 14th, there was, I used to have text messages that were just gobbledygook to family members going, pretty much, I'm in pain and I need help. And so I was taken to the hospital on July 14th and to the local ER in the city I was living in at that time. And the hospital there was the smaller hospital, and so they couldn't take care of me, but my vitals were already in problems. I was having sepsis. I was literally nosediving very quickly.
Yeah.
They ended up having to ambulance me to the sister hospital, or the larger hospital in that group, over in a city called Whittier here in California, where I live. And they took me to the big hospital, and pretty much, as I learned from family, because I have amnesia for a lot of these events, but through family and doctors and notes and post conversations, I've gotten to piece together and stuff. I was pretty much told, you have necrotizing fasciitis with foreigner's gangrene, you've got internal organ failure, your sepsis, you're literally, if we do not perform emergency surgery, you have a 3 to 4 day life expectancy.
Oh man.
It had literally, in that small period of time, had progressed that fast and that bad. And they were like, literally, it was the perfect storm. I had a heat rash, it got infected, and they said that bacteria A and bacteria B pretty much hooked up and mutated into a form of NF. And it ravished me. And I ended up swelling with edema up to about 610 pounds, according to the doctor's notes and my family at that time. During that time in the hospital, my mom was nice enough to keep a kind of a signature book for me to have some memories of what was going on, because it was so bad, with people signing it and leaving me notes so I could, this is kind of a record of what I went through.
Oh, that's very sweet and thoughtful of her.
Yeah,
and I'm sure probably instrumental to your recovery.
It has been. In the beginning, I was upset when I first saw it, because those, as well as not so much this, but with some of the pictures, because they actually took pictures of me in the hospital. So here it is. I'm in the hospital. They say I had to get the surgery. They say I argued with the doctor some, which is probably normal, because being new and all this stuff, I probably did argue with the doctor. But there's paperwork with my signature on it saying do the surgery. They did 2 surgeries, and sometime around, I think it was either July 15th or 16th, because I went in on the 14th, and I think they did surgery the next day, because I was very blessed. A doctor by the name of Dr. Anderson, who was a former combat hospital military doctor from the Middle East, is the one who came in and pretty much said, no, we're going to save this kid's life. And he took my case on, and if not for him, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
I think his battlefield experience and his being able to deal with stuff in a forward combat hospital just kind of made it to where seeing something like what I had was like, hey, no problem, I can handle this. We're going to get this taken care of. I was told that the surgery to remove it was a 50-50 survival rate nationally.
Okay.
And yet I was also told that this surgeon, when he's the chief surgeon, he has a 90% survival rate.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, so it really boosted my percentages. So they did the surgery, and they pretty much had to carve me out like a bowl in the perianal area, and then they had to put me into a medically induced coma. And I was in the coma. It was supposed to be for about a day, but it ended up being a day and a half to 2 days, because they had problems taking me out. And even then they were kind of like, is he going to make it? Is he going to be, they were still touch and go. In 2021, last year, I was at Christmas with a friend, and we were talking about just what had happened. And he was saying, yeah, dude, I remember being told by the doctors or by somebody to come by and say goodbye, because they just weren't sure you were going to make it, And so I think I sent you a picture of showing me actually attached to like a ventilator and all the equipment. And that's kind of a record of me being in the hospital. I mean, those pictures are kind of the evidence of my experience. My scars are unfortunately, not visible like some people in the NF community. They're not on my leg or my arm or my chest, back, etc., at an easily visible location. They're down in the groin area, so it's not really common or easy to show, and so it made it
now without getting a citation or arrested.
Yeah, and so it made it difficult at times when I would talk to people originally about what had happened, because they would doubt them. And when I first saw the picture, like the one that my mom took of me in the hospital, I was kind of upset at first, because it's like, well, what are you doing this? I look so horrid. And then now that it's been a couple years and everything, I realized those pictures are a testament of my story. They're a testament of what I went through, and I have them on my cell phone. And when I talk to people, I'll bring up those pictures and say, hey, this is where I was in 2019 in July.
Yeah, I do have the picture up here, the one with you in the hospital. You mind if I display it on the screen?
No, please go ahead, man.
So it's right here. I'm not sure how well it'll show, but there you are in the hospital.
Yeah. So this is the second week of July after I'd gone through the surgery, and I'm laying there going, okay, on ventilators and gadgets and all those things to keep me alive. So yeah, it was pretty freaky.
So. Yeah, I actually have a similar picture of me in a coma that my brother took, and it wasn't a family member who was upset at him for taking it. It was the nurses. He snuck in and took it, but I show it during my presentations because it's, I don't have, the other pictures I have from the hospital that show me either in surgery or, give an idea of how close I was to not being here. They're surgery pictures, and I don't show those to people unless they want to see them, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
They are graphic.
Yeah. Graphic pictures are hard to show to people, and I couldn't even take a look at it myself. People were like, well, didn't you want to take pictures of it and look at it? I'm like, no, that's okay. I'll let the doctors and the nurses deal with that. It's in my body. It's on my body. I don't need to see it. I know it's there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
you were in that coma for a day and a half. How was it for you when you came out of the coma?
It was freaky. So according to the notes that my parents took, it was around the 21st or 22nd of July that I actually became more awake and actually became like conscious or lucid, to where I knew what was going on. But during that week or time that I was, in the coma and post coma, it was like a dreamscape. There's images where I think I remember dreaming, seeing people visit me, but I can't be for sure. There's times where I think I remember going down the hallways because they had to do other tests and other, they did, 2 surgeries. They did the primary one that got like 90% of the infection, and then they had to do a secondary surgery. And then there's times when I don't remember anything. I mean, literally, I remember waking up in a hospital going, where am I? What's going on? I'm in pain. How did I get here? Pretty much freaking out because, I woke up in a hospital. And yet during that week time frame, my parents told me that they actually had to bring a nurse in at night to keep, I am in my room to keep me in my bed, because they said one night I, in my sleepish, drugged up, whatever, decided I needed to go to the bathroom. And so literally tried to climb out of the bed and messed up all my hookups and everything, and went into the bathroom and tried to use the restroom. And the nurses found me in the bathroom, and I was just sitting there like going, I just wanted to go to the bathroom. And I have no memory of this event taking place, Oh,
wow.
But it supposedly happened. And I don't doubt that it happened, because obviously the nurses and my parents told me about it. And,
they have no reason why.
The one thing I've had is I do have amnesia. So there's literally from July 7th until I woke up in that hospital bed around the 21st or 22nd of July, I don't remember any of it. I don't remember.
Go ahead.
going
Go
to
ahead. Go. I'm
the
sorry.
ER. Oh, no, I don't remember going to the ER. I don't remember getting a rash. I don't remember it getting infected. I don't remember going to the ER. I don't remember the conversations with the doctor prior to surgery. I don't remember any of it because it's just literally my brain is literally, it's literally been wiped or blocked or whatever you want to call it. So,
Wow.
that's how the sickness really messed me up in the drugs and everything.
Yeah, I do remember a lot of my situation, but I also remember a lot of the hallucinations. Do you remember hallucinating a lot under your medication?
A little bit. Most of my hallucinations were mainly just kind of like dreamscapes of seeing people and then, in and out of reality and weird scenarios, like people are in there watching TV with me and I kind of remember them supposedly watching TV with me, but I'm like, the lights looked weird, the TV looked weird, everything just felt weird, or kind of moving in and out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I did wake up, my brain was moving like molasses. I mean, literally, they had me reading the board, of like today's date, and it would be like July 22nd,
Mm.
2019, room 438. Tim Sanchez. I mean, it was literally, they had to get my brain back up and working and get me through that. So a lot of it was just the brain moving slow. And then there was the debridements. And of course, I tried to be brave and say, oh, I don't need painkillers. Yeah, I went through one debridement without painkillers, thinking, oh, I don't want to be foolish. And I went, yeah, no, I want the painkillers. I was wrong. Give me the painkillers. I am not going to go through that mistake again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that can be a painful situation. Well, anything that you're talking about is painful, but yeah, painkillers, they're there for a purpose.
Right. So I went through the NF, and obviously, I was in the hospital for a total of 6 months between the primary hospital, and then I was moved to an acute care hospital for physical therapy, occupational therapy. I was still on antibiotics because they were trying to make sure that they really cleared out the infection completely. And then I was moved to a skilled nursing facility where they were still doing debridements and monitoring it, and that was until December. And then I went home, where I had another 5 months of home health with, every other day or whatever, wound care and cleaning and dressings and everything, until it was finally fully healed in around June June of 2020. So it took almost 11 months for me to finally heal up from the surgery and everything.
Wow.
From that infection and from my obese size, and then how much I swelled with the edema, I ended up with an overextended pannus, which is kind of the area below the stomach, skin area.
Yep.
It swelled down all the way and hung to my knees.
Oh
So I
man.
had this huge fat bulge. And so, but I couldn't get it removed until I lost more weight, because I was very fortunate I wasn't diabetic, because if I was diabetic and had NF, it would have been a lot worse for me, and I could have had to go through amputations. So I
Yeah.
was fortunate I did not have to go through amputations. I was also fortunate I didn't need to use a wound vac during my healing process. They did everything very natural and just kind of let it kind of come back together on its own.
That's good.
So I was fortunate in those areas. But to do the to go through these, to get the surgery to remove that fat pad, I needed to lose weight. So I went through 2 surgeries with the NF. And then, unlike some people who have chronic NF issues and have multiple things with necrotizing fasciitis, I've had issues with chronic cellulitis. So other than this year, this is the first year since 2019 that I haven't been in the hospital for cellulitis.
Oh wow.
Because even once I got through with NF, literally in every year since then, I was in the hospital at least once or twice with with a cellulitis infection. And literally I was told by the doctors after like the second time that happened in the year, they said, from now on, if you have a cellulitis infection, don't waste time going to urgent care. Don't waste time going to your doctor. Just go straight to the ER because you're going to need IV antibiotics. You have an aggressive, chronic cellulitis, problem. And it's just easier to just go straight there. So here it is in 2020. And in September of 2020, I had to go in for a cellulitis infection. I was in the hospital. And then I had a surgery then to remove a skin ulcer in the left groin area near where I had the NF because I had a cellulitis infection near that area. And then they did gastric sleeve surgery in October of 2020 to help me lose weight so I could be eligible to do the plastic surgery. So now I'm at 4 surgeries. And then in March or April of 2021, I was in the hospital again for a cellulitis infection. And then I was also working towards losing weight. And then in October of 2021, I had the what they call the panectomy, where they do pretty much the horizontal zipper across my waist versus the vertical zipper. And they removed that 15 pounds of skin and tissue from that fat bulge and that oversized pannus. So now and they had to do 2 surgeries because I had an edema in there. So now I've experienced that, and I had to get a blood transfusion. So I've experienced that. So a lot of these things I didn't experience when I had my NF, I've experienced post NF with other surgeries, which still allows me to have kind of a better connection and camaraderie with people who've gone through surgeries of different sorts like NF and others that have had to go through these. So they did that. And they had to do a second surgery the next day to clear out the edema. So that was 6 surgeries. And then this year in October, I was in the hospital again for a medial thigh-plasty and an abdominoplasty to remove more excess skin tissue from my weight loss, because I went from about 530 to 550 up to about 610. And then I got down into the 400s to be eligible and safer for the surgery. They did the gastric sleeve surgery, and now I was in the high 200s. I've unfortunately put on a little bit of weight. I'm in the low to mid 300s right now, and I'm working to get back into the 200s with my weight. But recently, with the medial thigh-plasty, I had to have a wound vac for a period of time. Okay. So now I've experienced a wound vac recently, which allows me to kind of have a little bit of an understanding of people who've gone through that, and can kind of share, or at least have a better empathy for dealing with that type of a treatment format.
Yeah, I was going to say, if nothing else, we NF survivors definitely develop empathy for others who have gone through surgery and have medical complications. Exactly what I was thinking about. Man, your weight, you're like Christian Bale. Your weight just goes up and down. Just drastically. So, you said that in 2022, you haven't had to go into the hospital.
Yes.
Okay, well, knock on wood. You got a couple more weeks.
Other than my planned surgery for the thigh-plasty, I did not. This is the first year I did not have a cellulitis infection issue.
Well, so, good.
And so I'm quite pleased about that to kind of hopefully turn a corner and keep that moving forward.
So do you have a goal to aim for to maybe help you with your weight loss? Like, do you have like some kind of activity that you want to achieve or want to participate in?
I think I just want to be able to get to the 250s. I want to be able to travel some and see family, and it's just a lot easier to travel being smaller. I mean, when you're big, you got to buy 2 seats. It's a lot more extra expenses, and then just travel in general. And then, being a tall person, I'm about 6'2", airplane bathrooms are hard enough as it is, let alone when you're overweight. So when I did fly, I literally would do, flights with a stopover because I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom in a couple hours. So it'd be like, okay, I'm going to schedule my flight a couple hours, and I'm going to have a layover in this city, and I'm going to give myself an hour to 2 hour layover on purpose because I want enough time to get to my next gate because there's no way I can go fast, and I want enough time to even go to the bathroom because there's no way I can handle, a 10-minute or 20-minute layover,
Yeah.
So I think it's just to be able to do some of those things. And I've noticed that just with losing the weight I have, my energy level has increased. At times I feel more joyous, a lot more, I'm able to do more. I can walk around a lot more. In fact, this year I went to Anime Expo again,
Yep.
and it's very similar to the time period that I went in 2019, and it's the first time they've had it in person since 2019. And so when I talk about my geekiness kind of going with that, I literally went this year to kind of bookend my trip in 2019, because I'm like, I want to go back again. I had a lot of fun in 2019, even with everything that happened post and my weight, but I kind of want to, I almost wasn't here to be able to go again.
Yeah.
And this is a chance to go, and I wanted to go. And so I went and I cosplayed, Vice Admiral Garp both times because I like the character. I think I do it really well when I, trim the beard. In fact, like I said, I sent that picture of showing Garp and myself side by side, which really I think shows the inspiration in the way I did it. But it's just, and it was just fun. It's nice to be out there, and it's one thing I've always been comfortable with is talking about my story. I try to share it with people, and I'll be honest with you, what's gotten me through it is family, friends, my personal faith, prayer. I had people around the world and around the country praying for me, and that was important and helpful. There's support groups on social media that I've connected with to try to help talk and share with, and that's also part of the story, is how you do it, the life afterwards, and being able to share and talk with people and being able to connect and have that understanding, it helps,
Yeah, it definitely does. And really quick, I just want to show that picture we're talking about, that bookend of you at that con, and this year in your One Piece cosplay.
Yeah, that's the 2022 picture right there. So
yeah,
showed, yeah. And then if you notice, if you look, you should have a picture from 2019. You can see how big I was. You can see the difference, in the size of the man I once was.
yeah. So yeah, here's the picture from 2019. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely a change.
Yeah, that looks great. Yeah. So, but no,
Well, I tell you what, you are, I see you on the, Necrotizing Fasciitis Worldwide with Facebook page, and you're interacting with others, and you definitely are a beacon of hope for people because of your willingness to share your story and your upbeat attitude. And I definitely hope you do keep that going, because there are so many people who need it. And while NF is considered rare still, I think the last numbers I saw were 700 to 1,200 cases a year. When you're thinking of 300 some million people in the United States, that it's rare, but still that's about 1,000 people whose lives and families are just drastically affected.
Oh yeah, it's turned upside down because if obviously everyone handles things differently, but when you've gone through something like this, it really affects you because it is such a drastic thing. It does, it has such an overreaching effect. It's not just that area that it affects, because it can affect your entire body, your brain, your eyesight, your breathing, your internal organs, all these little things that it can just domino effect. And so, that's why, one of the things I try to encourage people when I do talk is seek out someone to talk to, seek out help, family, friends, pastors, priests, rabbis, counselors, doctors, when you're in the hospital with the nurses, talk to somebody, a friend. I mean, if you need to, call the suicide hotline, join a support group, online or in person or something, because there's no reason you have to go through this alone.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
And it's tough. And I admit that it's not easy. There are days when it's hard for me. There's days when, even with the Necrotizing Fasciitis Worldwide and the website, and the Facebook page, it gets a little overwhelming and I have to take a break from it for a while. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, if I take a break or if I don't keep up with everybody, it's no, you need to take a break because it does get emotional. It can trigger you. You can go through things and you can see somebody else's story and it's supportive, but you can see another person's story and it can be triggering. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
No. And something we got to remember too is those people who matter won't mind, and those people who will mind likely don't matter. So if someone's going to get upset at you for not responding to them that day, there's something else going on besides your lack of a prompt response.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely changed my life. I mean, I've noticed that in some areas of my life, there are certain things that don't bother me as much as they used to, because I definitely have that feeling I'm living on borrowed time, because I came so close to having my ticket punched. As I joke, I was sitting on the train and the conductor was about ready to punch my ticket when I got kicked off the train, or if you like another, fun mythological, thing, it's the old attitude of, well, I was getting ready to cross the river Styx and the boatman refused my coins and kicked me off the boat,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I say those as jokes, but it was one of those things, as a person of faith and belief, as a Christian, I was like, I was about ready to meet God, and God decided, no, it wasn't my time,
St. Peter said, oh, well, hold on a second, buddy. I think you have to go back a little bit. You're missing something.
Yeah. So, and so I'm still here, and it's at times it's kind of wondering what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to do stuff, and I try to do better. And when I can, I try to share with people, and I'm open about my story. I guess I'm unique. I'm different in that way. A lot of people are afraid to share it, and that's fine. You don't have to share your story, or you're not forced to share your story. Just know that there are people out there who are willing to listen, who've been through similar, and can maybe help you at sometimes. And I try to reach out to people as I can and say, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. So that way they know there's people out there, because when you first deal with this, it's like a science fiction sound name.
Yes,
it
does sound exactly like that.
Fasciitis, prior to this, I had probably only heard it as a passing thing in the news or whatever, and never gave it a passing thought. And yet now that I've gone through it, those words mean something different for me.
Yes.
You see a news article about, cases of, NF and flesh-eating bacteria, and my ears perk up and I'm looking at it and I'm kind of aware of it more so than most, than some people, or when I see people saying, well, it's no big deal. I'm like, well, unfortunately, not everybody has that, that benefit from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that luxury. Yeah.
So.
Well, Tim, it's been fantastic talking with you and hearing your story, and I greatly appreciate it. And I usually ask people what is something that at the time they weren't very thankful for, but now they have an appreciation for it. And I think I can maybe guess yours, but I still want to hear what your answer would be.
It's for life and be able to enjoy life. I think, because of my weight, I had gotten to where I was very reclusive, and prior to the, this infection, I just, other than a few events, would just kind of sit at home or recluse. And then since then, because of the improved energy, the improved health from just surviving that, and then the things I've done since then to improve my health and to improve losing the weight, because quick side note, my obesity did not cause these issues, but it didn't actually make them any easier.
Yeah.
Improving my obesity improves my ability to survive and deal with these things if they should ever come back in the future, which hopefully they won't.
Mhm.
So it's just made me be able to enjoy life more. Get out there and do stuff. I did a road trip to East Texas earlier this year, just as a kind of a I can do this type of thing,
That's awesome.
The Anime Expo, cosplaying, and being able to get pictures with people, and just to walk around and to see people light up and recognize the character I was cosplaying was just, those are the things that just make you enjoy stuff like that.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the things I love most about Comic Cons and expos like that, is being able to make that connection with a stranger. You'll likely never see that person again, but for that moment, you had a connection, and it was because of a shared experience or a shared love for something. So I agree. Everyone should go to a Comic Con at least once and cosplay.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Tim, where can people reach out to you if they wanted to connect with you?
Mostly, I have a Facebook account, but it mainly is, if you go through the NF Facebook accounts, I'm on those. I haven't gotten really big into social media. I mean, I have an Instagram, but I don't do a lot on it. So I don't remember the name of it half the time. If you search out Necrotizing Fasciitis on Facebook, there's a couple of groups that people can join that, as a survivor or friend of a survivor. We do a little bit, the admins do a little bit of a vetting just to keep things safe for survivors and the family members.
Yeah.
But I'm usually on there to try to help talk to people, and then it's just as I meet people in person, I try to keep a low profile online just because it's so easy to get lost in it. And after going through what I've been through, I kind of enjoy being out with people more so than in the virtual.
Yes, I agree. Well, we'll definitely share that information in the show notes below. But I do have one more question for you. What is your favorite dinosaur?
The first one that pops into my brain is the Triceratops. So considering that that's the first one to pop into my brain, I would probably have to say that one, because it is one of the more well-known ones. But I think it's also just the fact that it was always this big bulky one. It had the two horns and the nose horn, and the shield neck. Just the size of it and the look of it was always kind of that, reminded me kind of almost like a linebacker or a lineman in football. That down dirty. I'm gonna ram into you and take you out. So I think I'll go with the Triceratops, since that pops into.
That's a good one, definitely. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining me. I've been looking forward to this conversation all week. And so I am so excited to now be able to officially call you my friend, because we've had a full conversation. And I look forward to connecting with you some more. So thanks a lot. And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me here. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And once again, people, reach out for help, please. I don't want to see people going through this alone, and I don't want to see you suffering or hurting. And forgive me if I repeat that again, but reach out to somebody, family, friends, suicide prevention, counselors, something, because there's no reason to go through anything painful alone. There's resources out there. Seek them out.
I agree, Tim. Thank you so much. And that's a great message. So folks, please listen to Tim. If you are struggling physically and or mentally, please reach out. There are people to help. You can reach out to me and Tim, definitely, on social media. We'll be happy to listen and point you in the direction that you need. And speaking of me, if you want to reach out to me for that reason, or if to share my message of the attitude of gratitude, please go to chrisdtgordon.com. I have a school's website as well as a business website, which is chrisdtgordon.biz. So I am happy to serve with my message in that regard, or just to chat with you and say hi. But with that, I thank you so much for joining me today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this message so Tim's story and message can be spread as far as it can go. With that, please have a fantastic day. And remember, as always, to pass imperfection and go for greatness.